Yo, what's going on, YouTube? It's DLloyd. So we are getting closer and closer to the start of the NBA playoffs. It's finally almost that time. April, man, love it when it typically gets to this part of the season because all of these games mean something. And now with the inclusion of the play-in tournament, it means typically that much more, right? Because now 10 teams getting in instead of 8. There's more teams in the running typically, and now you are kind of, jostling for position, trying to figure out, what's the best situation for your team and how you could potentially see yourself in the playoffs. Now, when you take a look at the Eastern Conference, it's not as crazy this year, right? You assume Miami and Philly are going to be your 7 and 8 seed, Chicago and Atlanta pretty much a lot to be 9 and 10, and there's really not much difference. Yes, maybe Miami could jump up ahead of Indiana, but that's really it. There's really not a lot of excitement. But when you take a look at the Western Conference, that's where things get interesting because there are some teams that can move up and down. Now, currently, as we speak, the Pelicans are at 6, and the Dallas Mavericks are at 5. 45 and 29 is both of their records. I think they're safe. I don't think any of them realistically will drop down into the play-in seed. So you're looking at the top 6 really being locked in, and maybe some positioning specifically when it comes to like OKC and Denver, who's going to get the 1 seed, things like that. But when you take a look at 7, 8, 9, and really kind of 10, 10 is pretty much locked in for the Golden State Warriors unless they drop some games and the red hot Houston Rockets surprise everybody and get into that situation. That could potentially be a little bit of a surprise, but for the most part, you're looking at the Kings, you're looking at Phoenix, and you're looking at the Lakers, currently 7, 8, and 9. But what are the Lakers' chances of potentially moving up to 7 and 8? And the reason why I want to talk about this today is because, of course, the Lakers are the subject of conversations this morning. Had an impressive win against the Brooklyn Nets. LeBron James had 40, 9 for 10 from the three-point line. People now want to talk about the Lakers, right? And their chances realistically of making the playoffs. And I think the Lakers and Lakers fans, you're okay with being a play-in team, right? This is the same situation they were in last year. But preferably you want to get to 8 or 7 because that makes it a double elimination tournament essentially, right? You have to lose twice to not make the playoffs as opposed to sitting at 9 and 10. You have to win twice. You can't lose it all. And it's just anything can happen in basketball, as we see with March Madness, right? Any team can lose on any given night when it comes to one game. It's not a 7-game series. So you want to eliminate that if possible. Right now, you're looking at the Kings 43 and 31, the Suns 43 and 31, then the Lakers 42 and 33. So really a game and a half back. You look at Sacramento, they had the tie break right over the Lakers. So it's going to be tough for them to get into that situation, but it is not impossible. Now, what the Lakers are going to need is a slide from really the team you want to target. It's going to be the Sacramento Kings. They are out Malik Monk for the rest of the regular season, and will that impact them when it comes to their upcoming games? Now, when you look at the Kings' upcoming schedule, they have the Clippers on Tuesday, the New York Knicks on Thursday, the Boston Celtics the next night. So that is going to be a tough stretch right there. Could they lose all 3? Potentially. Are they likely to lose all 3? Probably not. But if they could go 1 and 2 during that 3-game stretch, that will be a win for the Lakers right there. Get 2 losses under your belt. Fine. Because remember, as we're going through this schedule, the Lakers are going to need at least 4 losses, preferably 5, from Sacramento to try to move up potentially. So Brooklyn, you would assume that will be a win for the Kings, right? Taking on OKC in OKC, if they're still battling for that number 1 seed, which they should be at this point, this is next Tuesday, that could very well be a loss. Now you're sitting at 3 losses. The last 3, New Orleans, Phoenix, Portland. Portland shouldn't be a loss, right? But New Orleans and Phoenix could potentially very well be one. Say they drop one of those, now you're looking at 4 losses. And that could be big. 4 and 4 in the final 8 games for the Kings could potentially put the Lakers right there. Now, of course, to be safe, Lakers will probably want 2 of those last 3. Maybe New Orleans wins that game. You need 5 realistically, right? But 4 could get you in the conversation. Now looking at the Lakers' upcoming schedule, they have Toronto, which should be a win. Washington, which should be a win. And I'm saying should because we know how these things go. Sometimes teams drop games they are supposed to win. If they are trying to make the playoffs at this point in the season, they need to be ramping up. They need to kind of be in playoff mode. Toronto and Washington are games that you have to win. Cleveland going to be a tough one, but it is a winnable game. Minnesota is a game where, yes, you look on paper, Minnesota a 50+ win team, but they're out Karl-Anthony Towns. This should be a game that they, even with Anthony Edwards, the Lakers should dig down deep and make a statement, try to win that game. You have Golden State, you have Memphis, you have New Orleans. The last 3 games to finish things off there, you would assume 2 of those should be wins if the Lakers want to move up. So it is possible. It's going to be tough. I know before we get ahead of ourselves, people are going to say Phoenix is another team that could potentially drop down. You're right, they could. Right there, New Orleans, Cleveland, and Minnesota in the next 3. New Orleans again after that. They could very well go 2-2 in those games, if not worse. But you would assume 2-2 because they're also playing for a playoff spot, right? Playoff positioning and things like that for the play-in tournament. The playing games. You didn't have LA twice on back-to-back nights. One in Phoenix, one in LA. Say they split those games. We're not sure because LA has been up and down, but they do have Russell Westbrook back. Maybe they can win those games. They have a big game against Sacramento in Sacramento Friday, April 12th. Then they come back for the final game of the season against Minnesota. So that is another team that could potentially drop 5 of their last 8. Going to be tough. Going to be a tough road for the Lakers, but it is possible. They are playing really good basketball as of late. Hopefully they can keep that up. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-1 in the last 7 games. So the Lakers are playing good basketball. They are beating teams that they are supposed to beat. Of course, they did not have the toughest of schedules during that stretch, but the Milwaukee double overtime come from behind victory, definitely pretty impressive. But of course, they dropped that game to Indiana that they were playing well at the beginning, but Indiana clearly outplayed them in that one. So we will see. I just know the Lakers want to be a 7-8, preferably. That is strongly preferred. Of course, they will also like to try to avoid Denver because that is probably the one team, if the Lakers did get into the playoffs, they do not want to match up with in the first round. Currently, they are a 2 seed. That could very well be a 1 seed, right? We don't know what's going to happen with OKC and the Nuggets. It's only a half game difference between OKC and Denver. So we will see what happens there. But you guys let me know. Do you think the Lakers have enough to get into a 7 or 8 seed? Because that is the preferred destination for the Lakers. Or do you think they will stick at 9? Because it seems like no matter what happens on the season for the Lakers, they're the 9 spot. They have been the 9 spot for it seems like months at this point. So let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. As usual, hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did, please do me a favor. Go ahead and leave this video a like. It helps me out a lot. And subscribe if you haven't already. It's DLloyd. I'm see y'all next time.